So, talking a little bit about Japan, and I showed you just a minute ago how the left is already, don't let a crisis go to waste, jumping on the disaster of Japan as a chance to lobby against nuclear energy. I showed you here a minute ago. How many died because of 3 Mile Island? 0. How many died because of Chernobyl? This number was 4,000. That's eventual from radiation. That one comes from the UN, so you know you can trust that number. 4,000. That's a lot of people. Not happen. But that's a lot of people. Okay. Okay. My question to you is the bond market. If the dollar collapses, how many millions will starve to death? Let's say, will it be more or less than 4,000? If the dollar and the bond market collapses, more or less than 4,000. Let's look at this. They're jumping on the fact they want no nukes. They want no coal. They want no oil. Wow, that leaves us with wind and cow farts. Oh, the sun. Okay, good. We have that. If we could just make cow farts less damaging to the ozone and turn it into fuel for our cars, man, we are all going to be set. Maybe Obama can mandate some new cow fart cafe standards. All cars have to be 96% cow farts by 2020. That's about how ridiculous the energy policy is in this country. But not only are opportunists going to take advantage of the crisis in Japan, they are going to use this event and take advantage of Japan itself while they are down. Do you remember the Fabian window? The Fabian window here. Remember what they're doing. These are the Fabian socialists. And this is a very famous window. We've talked about it. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. The earth is on fire, but they are the ones heating it. Earth is on fire, and they are beating it and hammering it to remold it nearer to the heart's desire. Well, I got news for you, gang. The earth has heated up, and it's being remolded. Has anybody noticed that China, who just a few weeks ago were openly hostile to the Japanese, they had, I mean, you just don't do this in China, they had protests about the Japanese in China. And suddenly, they're not only extending the gracious arm, which, okay, that's good. Loving heart of Mao has suddenly burst forth. Okay, cool. I can understand search and rescue teams and financial aid, but now they're going a step further. Now it's almost a propaganda campaign, it seems, coming from China, inside of China, saying, what can we learn from the Japanese and the way they're handling this crisis? Now, if I didn't think that communists were evil, I might think that's natural and normal. But I remember that it's Red China. And China and Japan are always at each other's throat. Recently, including a controversial helicopter flyover of a destroyer of a ship, and an arrest of a trawler captain near the islands that both are claiming. It's a hard time, the whole Taiwan thing. Really, now we're buddies. They're right about one thing, however, and I think we, honestly, can look at it without any government propaganda or no agenda. We can talk about how much there is to learn from the Japanese and how they're handling this crisis. And ask ourselves this: if, God forbid, a crisis, the Today Show, I learned today that the nuclear power plants in California and there's earthquakes there? What? Wow. Should we prepare? Question is, will we handle things the same way? We always have, historically. But look at the Japanese. The people are politely and calmly and patiently standing in line to get aids and supplies. Supermarkets are cutting prices. Vending machine owners are giving out free drinks to people who are just working together. There's no looting. We talked about this in a meeting earlier this morning and then later this afternoon. No one on this staff can remember a crisis this big where there is no looting. So what are we learning about the human spirit? We've already seen how low it can be pulled down. We see people here fighting in Wendy's and Denny's and just tearing each other apart. We've seen the protests that are not peaceful protests in Wisconsin. Please. People going in and busting through the doors and trashing the Capitol building at the slightest hint of a civil rights violation. I was at church yesterday, and I heard a preacher. I went to a gospel church in Harbor Island in the Bahamas, and it was an amazing experience. I want to bring this guy in. He's the preacher there, and he was amazing. He's a former Rastafarian, and he was a drug smuggler, and he changed his life. But he prayed for the people of Japan and the people of America, and he prayed for a revival all around the world. And he said, Lord, you told us these things would come, and here they are. And your people are preparing, and your people are standing together. It's amazing to me. In a way, it's tragic that it takes awful things to happen for us to find the best in ourselves. I would ask you tonight to pray for the people of Japan, as you probably already are, but also pray for the guardians around their freedom. God is not neutral in these things. I think there are far too many people looking for a new world order that will never let a good crisis go to waste. May the better angels among us grow and vanquish the darkness that surrounds us. Stand in solidarity with the people of Japan. It would have been better to bring a little bit of Japan to Wisconsin instead of Cairo.